A lot of people are concerned about this new knockout game. And this is my commentary on this knockout game and the concern about it. First of all, random acts of violence against people is not new. And it's not necessarily a game. It's not anything new. Random acts of violence we see throughout our culture, throughout time. We see a lot of organized violence coming out of our government. We see how it's encouraged in our society, and those that are perpetrating great acts of violence are actually rewarded in this society. We live in a society where people enjoy video games, where they, practice random acts of violence, killing the enemy. And I was just thinking about video games earlier today. A lot of these video games, the enemy isn't really specified when you see these fast-moving modern video games. But what is specified is who you are and how cool you look in the uniform as you shoot away as some arbitrary target is running off to escape your attack. The thrill of the hunt. Yeah, we live in a really interesting culture. I'm not sure why it's so surprising that there are aspects of our youth acting out in violent ways. First of all, it's nothing new. And second of all, look at the world that they're living in. Consider how our environment shapes our reality. And a lot of people are affected by external factors and influences, imprints on the subconscious. We're affected in so many ways. We're affected by the environment of our mother when we were in the womb, and what happened to her and the food that she was eating. And we're affected a lot of ways by external factors. The problem is people don't take this into account. The root cause of something. Why is something taking place? Why is something really taking place? Is it just simply racism? Or is there something else taking place? That's the underlying root. And that's how I feel about this. We live in a violent world. It shouldn't be a surprise that there's aspects of youth behaving in this manner. And there isn't enough emphasis on how it seems to me and a lot of other people, there's a spirit of evil that likes to control people like packs. Demons, if you will, that operate in this earthly domain. And there are, for example, in Portland, Oregon, a lot of stories in that very interesting town that has a lot of interesting energy. And I think there's something about Portland, the place where it's located, and the energy there, and how, when there are solar flares, how certain people that are already on the edge go all the way over the edge. And, I was pondering, there are a lot of stories of people pulling out knives and babbling away, and police having to respond. And the Portland police, for example, do not have an easy job. Some use restraint. A lot of Portland police do not. But they don't have an easy job, and they wear those blue gloves. Not all police wear gloves, but when they're dealing with the homeless, they wear those thick, blue, hospital-grade gloves for a reason. The streets of Portland are a magnet for homeless all over the nation. And that has resulted in some pretty interesting situations. So to bring this back home, there seems to be a spirit of evil in this land. Why? That's another subject for another time. But there seems to be a spirit of evil in this land, whether that you see that land as this country or this planet, certainly this planet. And we see people during certain times that seem to change. Kind of like a Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde kind of thing. And we see these changes in the sun and how it has a seemingly positive effect in some people and negative effect in others. And we see battles starting and earth-changing events. And actually, speaking of that, there's a number of volcanoes that are very active right now at this time. I believe 7. And there's even some sort of a development with an island that just formed in the Pacific, right outside of Japan. And there's a huge comet that just flew past the Earth. And we're officially in solar maximum. There was a huge solar flare the other day. So there are these major energy changes. And some people act in really aggressive and abusive ways. And they kill others. They hurt others. They rape others. They go on the hunt. Some humans go into animal mode. And it's not a matter of, oh, it's the blacks, and it's the whites, or it's the Hispanics, or it's this group, the Asians, the Middle Easterns. All racial groups, in some way, show themselves, some aspects of their group, their society, show themselves to be nothing more than human animals, walking on two legs, just going to their next beat down or their next fuck. I mean, excuse me for using such language. But I think you need to come to terms with where some of your fellow men and women are at. Some of them are at the consciousness of a dog. They're a low-level soul. They just got here. Only a low-level dog or someone controlled by demons would enjoy raping someone with a group, or beating someone down, or doing some of the horrific things that we're seeing right now. But what I'm saying is some of these things come in cycles, where we see the worst in man and the best in man. And sometimes through the worst in man, the best in man comes out. When people come out and the community is saying, no, we can't have this. We're not going to let evil reside here in our town. The community is going to represent. The community is going to have a say in this. And that's what you're seeing when these candlelight visuals take place, when there are shootings in a neighborhood. When the black community comes out with a candlelight visual, as they pray for an end to gang violence in their neighborhood. See, these are the demons of our world showing themselves at a horrible time where people are losing their jobs and people are very concerned about a lot of things. For youth to be running around knocking people out is unfortunate, but you need to know where it's coming from so you don't get lost being afraid of a particular group that's actually being controlled by an evil force. That spirit of evil that's working through those youth is working through aspects, some aspects, not all, of the U.S. military and how it's treated others from other countries. And it includes people in other militaries in other countries that abuse others, or people that are involved in law enforcement or position in authority. Anywhere in the world, there are these systematic executions of abuse. Routine abuse is on the people. It's still a way of life. Women around the world still under this male-dominated patriarchal system, which is actually under the control of something else. Not men as a whole, but an evil energy that seeks to separate men and women and create a less safe world. A world where we're more dependent on the system, on technology, on the grid, on them. A world dependent on them. So we're looking at a spirit of evil that is operating on this planet. And we have to figure out, we have to keep our focus on dealing with that evil and prevent ourselves from being absorbed by that evil that wants to play us off another group, that wants to excite our emotions, that wants to trick us, deceive our senses, lie to us as to who's the enemy. Because the dark forces do that. They get inside the mind of those that are susceptible, that don't know how to protect their mind, and they start fucking with them as to who's the enemy. And, you know, it seems like this has infected a lot of people today that don't know that they're not fully clean. So it's not just about people abusing others or beating others, attacking others. Sometimes people just do it with their energy, and they're in war mode up here. The forces of evil. And there are forces of evil in this world. Want us fighting, but they also, keep this in mind, want us afraid. Want us afraid of evil itself. They don't ever give us tools to deal with the evil. So in terms of this knockout game, you're also getting media report after media report after media report, which is only going to cause more of a knee-jerk reaction. Not that there's anything wrong with the Second Amendment. I'm not even suggesting that. But there's something more to learn here than just, ooh, more reason to have a gun with you at all times. I don't force my spiritual beliefs upon other people, but I try to walk confidently through this world, and if something's going to happen, it's going to happen, and I try to be prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually to deal with whatever happens as it happens. But I do believe in being prepared, but I don't believe in living a paranoid lifestyle. And I don't mean that carrying a gun with you is leading a paranoid lifestyle, but there are certain people out there that do lead paranoid lifestyles about threats, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Fill in the blank here. And there's a fine line between being prepared and being in a right state of mind and being out to lunch, paranoid, so ungrounded, nobody wants to be around you. There's a fine line. Remember that. And try not to cross it. Stay balanced and stay centered. And that's the point. Some of this information can cause someone to become so ungrounded and so afraid that they buy bigger locks and bigger guns, and they go out less. And I'm not attacking. What I'm doing is I'm saying we shouldn't forget to live life. And some of the stuff that we're seeing on the internet is designed to keep us in a certain frame of reference, mentality, way of relating to the world. That's clear to me. In relation to protecting yourself, if some of you are exercising the Second Amendment, I would not overlook aspects of physical self-defense as well. And yeah, I'd love to be doing some videos on those things right now if I had some people to work with. Here in Colorado, maybe I can do something to change that if I can find some allies in the area that I'm in here in Trinidad, Colorado. But I can think of some things that I'd like to share. So be proactive. Think about what self-defense items you may want or what you're comfortable with. But be prepared. Take self-defense courses if need be. I highly suggest that. Don't just rely on a gun. But don't walk through life being afraid. What we put out there comes back. And in my life and my activism, I'll tell you what, I haven't had to deal with a tenth of the things that people assume that I've had to deal with. I'm actually amazed at a lot of things in this life that I haven't had to deal with ever since I got on my path and got really involved in media activism. I've been pretty bold in more than one circumstance when I was protesting or megaphoning, and I would say I would consider myself really obnoxious to someone that really doesn't want to hear about 9/11, but they're hearing someone scream about this for several hours through a megaphone. In retrospect, there were a lot of police that just stayed away from me and didn't do to me, obviously, what we see police do to other people. And I think that's very interesting. Whether those police were just nice or not, there were very few that, in all of my activism and as bold as I've been, I can't really recall any major assaults. There's been verbal ones over the years and comments, but physical, and the few that I have had to deal with, I was able to handle very easily. My life has been extremely peaceful. It's almost shocking. And I attribute a lot of that and the luck that I've come across from doing good things. I've mentioned this on a regular basis. There's a lot of fear right now people have about bad things happening to them, whatever it is. Do your best to do good things for others and not be a selfish person. That's the best insurance for you. Guns, martial arts, mace, having a phone or a panic button, having a special alarm. There's this rape prevention underwear they've got now, so you can supposedly prevent rape. Laser guns, tasers, whatever, brass knucks, but doing good for others, and try to create good karma. We're not all perfect. Some of us got some karma to clean up. I think that's a good way to live your life, to kind of free yourself from this never-ending fear and terror of what might happen to me, what could happen to me, and yeah. So this is my thoughts on the knockout game and kind of, my response to it, other than a panicked, super fearful one.